Hey folks, welcome back to HeartGold vs. Crystal. We are here in Mahogany Town, taking on the Mahogany Town Gym. The leader here is Pryce. He uses Ice-type Pokemon, and he's a bit of a doozy for me. As I've said, I skipped the Cyanwood and Olivine gyms until after I do this, and not having the experience from all those escapades definitely caused me to struggle here. As you will see, as you can see by the video length, it takes a while. So let's get going. Let's get into the Pryce fight. He only has 3 Pokemon. How bad could it be? Anyway, first things first is Seal. Now, Seal, he has one primary thing that he likes to do, and it's basically to set up for the future installments of the team. He likes to set up Hail. Hail is the Ice-type weather effect. It hurts all non-Ice types every turn. And since Seal isn't actually part Ice-type yet, he gets hurt too. But some of its side effects is that Pokemon with Snow Cloak, I think is the name of the ability, it's a lot like Sandveil, will gain increased evasion in Hail. And then also, the move Blizzard, which is the single most powerful Ice-type special move, I believe, at least for common Pokemon. Blizzard, normally 75 accuracy, always hits. So that's 2 rather destructive effects. And it, I don't know, it probably, helps Ice-type moves in general. I don't remember. But the point is, I want to defeat Seal on a turn when Hail deactivates, so that his, that whatever comes in next doesn't have Hail on its side. And even though Klaus could take care of Seal a lot more quickly than he does, it's much better for my overall well-being if I take this kind of slow and cautiously. Now, Icy Wind. Icy Wind was the gimmick move, the signature move of Pryce back in the 2nd generation. It's not an incredibly powerful move, but it will always lower the speed of the opponent, kind of like Klaus's Rock Tomb, and has much better accuracy than Rock Tomb, so yeah. So that's kind of what I was alluding to in the previous episode with these guys like to slow you down, and it's annoying because my Pokemon isn't very fast to begin with. Anyway, the Hail stopped there, but he's gonna set it up right there again. Basically, I needed enough time to set him up with Leer so that I could kill him in a reasonably efficient manner. Because, like I said, Seal's kind of bulky. You've seen that in previous episode. So straight up using Strength or straight up using Rock Tomb will not defeat it in time for Hail to work out. So, yeah. Had to lower his defense with Leer and let him set up Hail again, and then we're gonna start killing him, and we gotta watch our turns very carefully. If we're not careful, we could end up losing a Pokemon that we don't want to lose, just because the next Pokemon to come in will have a perfect accuracy Blizzard with which to one-hit KO most of my team. And that would be bad. That would be very bad. Anyway, let's see what we're up to now. We're still holding off against the Seal. Seal isn't the dangerous one on his team. Keep that in mind. Seal, if a Pokemon dies to Seal, it's probably because it's not very good choice against Ice types in general. It's really not the one to be worried for. Overall, if you want, you can use Seal to set up. If you have a Pokemon with stat up moves like Swords Dance or something along those lines, that Seal is a great Pokemon to set up on, because it's not going to do a whole lot of damage to you unless you're weak to Ice. Now, one thing, as you can see, it does have Rest there, which it can and will utilize, but the gimmick about it using Rest is that it actually has a way to attack while asleep, which previous Seals did not. Snore is, it's a move. It can cause flinching. I don't know its base power. I think it's normal type. But the point is, it can still attack you while it's asleep. It is not going to play dumb. It can't set up hail or anything, but it can still attack you. Anyway, Seal is finally out of the way, and Frida is learning Sleep Powder. Sleep Powder is actually very useful, because it has better accuracy than Hypnosis for the same effect. It's not Spore. Spore is still the best sleeping-inducing move, but it's better. It's definitely better. I think it's 75 compared to 60. Anyway, his next Pokemon is his signature Pokemon, Piloswine. Piloswine is the evolved form of Swinub. It is, again, ground ice. And it actually does have another evolution in store, but not here, because it wasn't in the original Johto Dex. Now, Everett, as you can see here, is a very, very useful, because it can actually live a blizzard if the planets align. If the computer hates me, which it does, it can and will be KO'd by Blizzard, but Everett will often hang on with just a few HP left. So it can be valuable because Blizzard hits way more often than it should to use Everett to stall it out of its 5 Blizzards. Anyway, screw you, Piloswine. Webster here, unfortunately, really needs to be death fodder in this situation. It has nothing to throw against these guys, unfortunately. And he can't even lure them out into using Blizzard, so yeah. Sorry, Webster. Webster is going to get his time to shine next week in the coming episodes. You will see it. It will be glorious. But for now, it's kind of Everett's show. So the current strategy here: keep Everett at high health at all possible times, to stall this guy out of blizzards whenever possible, and also, whenever possible, inflict Sand Attack on Piloswine, because, as I've said, most of Piloswine's moves can kill most of my Pokemon. Ice Fang will do a great number to most Pokemon. Mud Bomb will completely KO Klaus, who otherwise is not too troubled by ice types. And Blizzard is just a jerk to everybody. So the goal here is to lower his accuracy so much that he just will never hit. Unfortunately, it's Hail, and Hail puts Blizzard at 100% accuracy regardless of sand attacks. So, gotta rely on that whole luck thing. Now, some people might criticize me, oh, you're being so cheap for using Sand Attack. Yeah? I don't care. The thing about Hail, of course, is that since it damages every turn, that makes the chances of living from Blizzard all the lower. So, yeah, it's good to stall this guy out of Blizzards. Anyway, Sand Attack can miss. Just pointing that out, that's the stupidest fucking thing. I mean, it's not stupid, it's just really annoying. And also, you will see evidenced in this fight that accuracy is so mean to the player. Because, I mean, well, you won't really see accuracy drops inflicted on me that much, other than Piloswine having Snow Cloak. But he hits way more often than he has any right to when put under maximum sand attackage. So now here's the strategy. Now that he's basically unable to attack me reliably, hopefully, we get Frida in there, set up a Leech Seed, and that will constantly drain Piloswine. So even if I'm stuck having to constantly heal with my, I think, 40 Soda Pops that I bought off screen, he will eventually go down. Whether he keeps using Hyper Potions or not, he will eventually go down. Now you may be saying, hey, Bree has Yawn, wouldn't that be incredibly useful for putting the opponent to sleep? And I'm like, yes, it would. If only Bree could, A, outspeed these guys, and B, survive any Ice-type moves, and C, these guys would ever frickin' miss like they're supposed to. The computer realized that I was trying to cheat it. It didn't like that. Anyway, unfortunate thing, because the Leech Seed doesn't kick in on a turn that a Pokemon is KO'd, I don't know, it slows down my sapping of Piloswine's health. And I do have to rely more on Everett surviving and dodging moves. But again, we're out of Blizzards. We're out of the danger zone unless he criticals, which he very much can. He will do that quite often. Now, at this point, I can lower his defense with Tail Whip pretty often. By the way, I got Return off screen. Return should be pretty good. I can lower his defense with Tail Whip, and then eventually he will take enough damage from Return that he will actually die from attacks rather than Leech Seed. But I have to do constant battling, balancing between keeping Everett alive and doing damage to him. So yeah, that's a thing. That's worth noting. And this is a second Pokemon. He still has Dugong. His last Pokemon is a Dugong, by the way. And guess what we're gonna have to do to Dugong? If you guessed the exact same thing, you were right! Ah, yeah. And this is one of those situations where I really wish I did have a setup, a stat up kind of strategy rather than a lower the opponent's stats kind of strategy. Because when you're buffing your own attacks, you don't have to switch, like, do it again for each Pokemon that your opponent sends out. But on the other hand, you, with lowering the opponent's stats, you can share it between all the Pokemon that you have. So it's a little balanced, but here, since I only have like 1 or 2 actually useful Pokemon, I'd much prefer having buffs rather than debuffs. Anyway, I've been lowering his defenses with Tail Whip, and sooner or later I'm going to start attacking with Return, which incidentally should be doing a very good amount of damage thanks to Everett having Stab and Adaptability. And Everett, of course, is getting happier all the time, so Return should do a fair bit of damage, But the whole huge level difference, 11 level difference, kind of kicking in right here. Now, about this time in the stream, and for a while before, all my viewers were like, wow, you're an idiot, you should go train, you should go grind, you should go to Olivine and do those gyms. But, screw all of you. This is what I do. I do stupid things because I'm stubborn. And because I can. This is the 7th gym. This is the number 7 gym. I'm underleveled, it's true. But I didn't want to cheese, like, jump out, grind, do other things, because I knew it was possible. And, as you can see, we only have 1 more Pokemon to go. We have a long time to go, but we only have 1 more Pokemon to go. Anyway, Sandra. You haven't seen Sandra much here because Sandra is weak to Ice-type moves. But one thing that is very valuable about Sandra is that she is the only other Pokemon besides Everett who has Sand Attack. And Sand Attack, despite being very cheap, is a valuable asset against this opponent. Unfortunately, things didn't work out thanks to Aurora Beam, but you know how it happens. I don't recall if this Dugong has Blizzard, but I do recall that it takes a lot of hits to take down. Anyway, Klaus, I think, is just death fodder at this point, because In an ideal world, Klaus would be able to take an attack and land a Rock Tomb, slow this guy down, and possibly allow my other Pokemon to outspeed him, and like maybe Frida could get in Leech Seed before being KO'd, or Bree could get a Yawn in before being KO'd, but Klaus is too slow and too frail. It stinks. Anyway, let's see how Everett takes these Aurora Beams. Relatively nicely. It's still a 2-shot, which means now that I've gotten my 1 sand attack in, I need to constantly keep healing until the Aurora Beam misses, basically, and I have another chance to get in another sand attack. The thing about a sand attack strategy is that the more you use it, the more efficient it becomes, the more often it'll work. But you have to play dangerous, kind of. You'll have to take risks once in a while. Like there, that's possible KO. And if it were a KO, that'd be game, set, and match. But because I was daring, I managed to make it work. And you see I'm using Soda Pops rather than Super Potions, because they heal 60 points. And in situations like these, where I can live a Blizzard by like 5 hit points, and I can live an Ice Shard Aurora Beam combo by 4 points, it is incredibly vital to get as much health back as possible. Hyper Potions are still kind of a waste of money, but yeah. Anyway, nice run of luck here. Aurora Beam kept missing, which meant I could keep getting in more sand attacks, which make Aurora Beam miss even more often. Definitely a nice chain there. And of course, that spent all my karma and all my good luck, so now things are just gonna go downhill again, because that's how it always happens. We're still doing this, by the way. This is gonna keep going, and you're gonna see all of it. But if I counted correctly, if my past self counted correctly, we have now lowered his accuracy as far as it's gonna go. Oh, critical lie. We've lowered accuracy as far as it's gonna go, so we gotta get the tail whips in. And yeah, you are going to watch all of it. Get over it. Now, again, in an ideal world, Frida would be able to put up a Leech Seed here, which would be completely probable since his accuracy is so low. We got the miss there, but unfortunately the turn that I actually used the Leech Seed, Aurora Beam hits, despite what probability would seem to indicate. So down Frida goes, unfortunately. So, back to the whole tail whip thing. I'm a patient man. Are you patient? I'm very patient. Anyway, as usual, get Everett back up to full health, because a single Aurora Beam would still KO at that health. And of course Aurora Beam hits. Of course. Why wouldn't it? Because just because I have 6 sand attacks against the opponent doesn't mean that an attack will miss most of the time. That'd be ridiculous. That'd be like if the player was getting sand attacked, and we know that, you know, the computer doesn't play by the same rules as the player. That'd be stupid and fair. Anyway, what are we up to now? Are we still doing tail whip business? Or do I have some other crafty scheme in mind? No, I think we're still doing tail whip business. Or I don't even know what happened there. Yeah, patience is key. But again, I knew that this was possible. That was my central, like, motivating thing here, is that I knew that this fight was possible. And I wouldn't be the stubborn jerkwad that I am today if I didn't stubbornly refuse to grind and make this less tedious for all involved. Anyway, what do we have? Like 3 tail whips on him now. Not nearly enough. Whatever, sooner or later we'll start attacking him. Now you may be thinking, wow, Datai, this is really boring. Why are you making me watch this? And how did you have the patience to do this fight? Well, I can't answer the second question, but the first question, it's because so many people watching me record this saw me fail at this for several hours on 2 separate occasions. And it would be a disservice to the fight if I didn't show just how long each attempt took, and the fact that I failed most of them. Kind of a significant time investment there. And I wanted to make sure you understood that, basically. But anyway, are we gonna start attacking? We must be close to attacking, right? Right? I think we are. Yeah! So now, with all those tail whips, return does about half. That's pretty amazing right there. But recall that Dugong does have rest. The thing about Dugong with rest is that it also has Sleep Talk, which will allow it to use any of its other moves while asleep. It's not just a generic attack like Snore. It could use Ice Shard or Aurora Beam on its own. Or it could use Rest and fail, but that's another matter. But, finally, a lucky critical when it probably wasn't necessary, and Pryce goes down. Now check out the much easier Crystal version after this commercial break. Alrighty, Crystal time. What wonderful things does this fight have in store? Well, one significant difference, actually, is that all of his Pokémon are several levels lower than they are in HeartGold. And that makes things a lot easier, since my Pokémon are more or less the same level. They're a little differently distributed, but I'm basically at the same state I am in HeartGold. So you'll see it's a little different here. I'm leading off with Everett against Seal. Doesn't make a huge difference, to be honest. But criticals are nice. Seal was a lot less interesting in this fight since it doesn't like to set up hail, and that means I don't have to worry about the blizzards as much in for other Pokemon. Anyway, sending in Dugong rather than Piloswine first. Again, not a huge difference. But the thing here, actually, Webster has a use, believe it or not, thanks to being evolved. He can take a hit or two even. And that allows him to put in Scary Face, which slows down the opponent, and alleviates that whole being outsped by higher level Pokemon thing. That was such an issue in the HeartGold fight. So very nice. Definitely very nice indeed. Evolved Webster is kind of a boss. Believe it or not. Like, I was worried that he would lose a lot of usefulness, just through time, and that evolution wouldn't fix that. But it kinda really did, at least for now. You'll see Webster doing a lot of cool things in the coming episodes in both versions, so. Anyway, I was considering keeping Webster in high health for the sake of doing more to these opponents, but Webster isn't an offensive powerhouse, and I won't deny that fact. So, just get in a little extra damage there, and allow someone else to do the heavy hitting. Who will that someone be? It's Everett. Now, the strategy here is fairly similar to what I employed in HeartGold. Use Tail Whip to lower his defenses, and then inflict massive amounts of damage, ideally. But it's I'm not worrying quite as much about the whole accuracy business, at least for Dugong, because he's not doing as much damage. He's not quite as dangerous. If the random number generator's on my side, Everett can actually live 2 hits. Often it isn't, of course, but it's possible. There, you can see Tail Whip did a lot of damage, or caused a lot of damage to be able to be done. Critical certainly helped, and Dewgong goes down thanks to some very nice luck. I think the computer understood how karma works and decided to relieve my suffering for a brief while. Anyway, only one Pokemon left. We have Piloswine, as you know. You remember this guy. And we're gonna try the whole Leech Seed thing again. Unfortunately, Piloswine does still have Blizzard, and Blizzard is still annoying. Hail isn't as much of a constant threat in this fight. They don't activate it as much. I think they still have it, but they don't activate it as much. But that means Blizzard is less dangerous. It'll still kill things, but it is less dangerous. Now here's an interesting thing. In Crystal version, of course, Bree has not evolved yet. And thanks to not evolving, she doesn't have the flying type, and thus is not weak to ice. And so that Blizzard actually didn't KO, even when an Ice Fang would KO the higher level evolved Bree in HeartGold. It's an interesting little note. Anyway, I was hoping for a good metronome on this guy. Thought it would be, like, satisfying, or my good luck would continue. But of course, metronome will never be awesome when you need it to. Flame Wheel's nice. It is super effective, but not quite what I'm looking for. But what it did do is burn the enemy. And while it's not Leech Seed, it'll do. Because now he does have a constant sap on his HP. He will lose health every turn thanks to the burn. And that's kind of the more important aspect of the Leech Seed. The small amount of healing was nice, but it was more about him being constantly hurt, and that means it is only a matter of time before that guy goes down. I didn't bring as many healing items in Crystal, so if things got really bad, I wouldn't be able to stall him to death, but it managed to work out. I don't know if he doesn't have Ice Fang, he's stuck using Icy Wind, isn't as strong. It's not a bad situation. I mean, for once being frozen wasn't a death sentence. How often can you say that? Anyway, let's see if we get anything really good out of this metronome coming up. I was so happy that actually Bree was useful against this guy, because Everett got a lot of screen time there, got a lot of props, wanted somebody else to get some fun. Unfortunately, Rolling Kick missed. That would have been super effective. But I was glad that someone else got the spotlight. Got to do some significant damage against that Piloswine. Unfortunately, Fury Cutter sucks. I really wanted a good metronome, but it seems like it never happens. Anyway, at this point I was feeling pretty good, right up until he used that Hyper Potion, and I was like, oh man, you're just delaying the inevitable, but at this point I'm still worried if it's inevitable or not. So really, that is just the worst feeling in the world, when your opponent comes back from death. Toxic would have been wonderful, by the way, if I got it earlier. If I haven't explained bad poisoning before, bad poisoning does more damage each consecutive turn. So Piloswine would be dead. Like, zip. And I will probably put that on somebody at some point. It would probably be a very useful thing to have, if I'm ever in such a situation like this again. But anyway, all I need is a good metronome to take care of this guy. And it looked like I was about to get it. Skull Bash. Skull Bash, introduced in the first generation, actually. Another one of those two-turn moves. But, so close, but no. An inopportune Icy Wind, and Everett has to get the kill. God forbid. Wanted somebody else to get the satisfaction, but it's all right. Overall, the Fighting Crystal was easier just thanks to its lower levels, and Hail not being as prevalent. Didn't have to abuse accuracy or anything. But it was still a relatively challenging fight. It wasn't easy by any means. But I was satisfied with this. Maybe it just seemed easy in comparison to the HeartGold. It's entirely possible. But anyway, that takes care of Pryce. He was difficult. I don't know if he'll be the most difficult gym battle that we'll have, but it's a thing. It'll definitely go down in my memory. Anyway, he will give a wonderful TM. He will give you Hail. I've explained Hail many times. In Crystal, he will give you the TM for Icy Wind, which will, again, lower the opponent's speed whenever used, and has better accuracy than Rock Tomb. But anyway, that takes care of the Mahogany Town Gym, and I will see you guys next time for those gyms I skipped.